Hello and
Hey,
welcome back. Welcome back to the GEG Golkata channel. And it gives me a lot of happiness to welcome back our favorite guest speaker, and that happens to be Nathan.
did
All
you click go live? Because I'm not getting it on my phone.
yes, I did. I
All
did.
right, great. So I got a problem with my phone. Sorry.
Over to you.
All right, hi everyone. It's good to see you here. I'm still getting on my phone here that we're not coming in live for some reason.
All right, let me also quickly
Yeah, have a
do.
quick look at that.
Oh, we are live.
We are live, huh?
Yes.
What's with that? I got a problem with YouTube. Sorry about that, everyone. Well, that's my fault. Anyway, hey, yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Okay, now I got you. Great. Um, so yeah, thanks again for having me, Sudipta. I love doing these things with GEG Kolkata. It's nice to like kind of talk about, okay, well, we've done this, we haven't done that, but people have probably seen this, like today, the topic book creator. A lot of people that are, either watching this now or going to watch it later are going to be like, well, I know book creators, so we can think, well, how can we dive a little bit deeper and talk about this in a different way from, for example, how do you use it kind of deal. And that's what this session is not about, how to make a book in Book Creator. It's more how to use it pedagogically, right? So I'm looking forward to this. Thanks for inviting me.
Our pleasure.
All right. So shall I share the screen here and we'll get rolling? All right. I'm going to share my entire screen for now. Later on, I'm going to share just a tab.
Right.
All right. That's loading up there. Groovy. Okay, everyone. So again, like focusing on the pedagogical side of things, we're looking at teaching and learning, of course, and assessment and feedback with Book Creator. So we're not going to talk about how to make a book in Book Creator. There's lots of videos out there. I've got one that is quite detailed at the end of the slide deck, which Sudipta will share with you at the end of the session. And yeah, you can use that if you want to learn how to use it if you haven't. But we're going to look at these three really important things in the whole world of teaching and learning. So, I'm going to kind of skip this session description because I've kind of given it to you. But look at that very bottom part. We're not talking about how to create a book, how to apply Book Creator to classroom activities, units, and things like that, which is right here. Samples of some class activities that I use, including like just for like the one-off 20 or 30-minute activity, as well as something that I use over several periods. Actually, it might be 2 weeks that we keep coming back to the book. But using it for one part of a unit and with a unit. I'm going to show you some examples of a history and economics assessment, two different assessments, that is, so how you might want to think about assessment. And we'll talk about feedback, clever little tricks that you can use to give feedback to students while they're in the process of building their book, okay? On the pro side, pro tips there on the right side. I would say whenever you make a book, whether it's for just students to read and respond to, or for a unit or a lesson or whatever, always know your intention. Two samples I'm going to show you on the French Revolution and the so-called Industrial Revolution. Those were very, very, deliberately planned by me, right? Including the activities and that kind of thing. I also recommend getting all your stuff together before you make anything, links to your images or download the images, as well as the sources where you got them, because you as a teacher have to cite as well, right? We have to model academic honesty. And then your images and audio and things like that. And I recommend thinking of a style, right? What's your brand? What's your consistency? And I'm not great at that right now, but anyway, we'll not worry about that. So anyway, my name is Nate Gildart. I live in Nagoya, Japan, originally from Canada, as you probably see on my my thing there. I teach middle years program individuals and societies, as well as diploma program history, basically social studies and history, though I do have a background in political science and I've taught lots of geography, right? I am a Book Creator ambassador, and stick around to the end because I'm going to show you how you can go through their certification process. And it is a really, really cool community. I'm so busy now that I can't get I don't want to get certifications just to have them. I want to contribute to communities. And I had to decide on 3 or 4 that I'm just going to focus on. And Book Creator was one of them because I think it really is a dynamic app. And so I am one of the Book Creator ambassadors, among other things, right? So first, I want to start with showing you what this is. I'll kind of explain the purpose of the few books that I'm going to show you now. But I think it's always important. Coaching pedagogy, they often tell you to say the why. Why are we doing this first? Um, and then the what, and then the how. I think I'm going to put the what in there first because it'll give you a context for when I'm talking about the why we're doing it, and then how you can use these approaches, right? So, Book Creator is it's a book, it's a tool where you can create basically books, right, online, textbooks, storybooks, as you see, magazines, how-to guides, and things like that. You can do presentations as well. Essays, digital portfolios. Really, your imagination is the limit. You'll notice down here the resources for teachers bit. Click on that link later when you get the slide deck, and then you can explore that on your own. So let me give you a few examples. I'm going to go with one that's fairly well developed that I've been using probably for about 4 years now. And this is the story of Christmas, right? I find it interesting that we celebrate these holidays, but often don't really think about the deeper, we might think about the meanings of them, but not really where they came from and how they developed over time, right? So this is something I do as one of those in-class activities just for a day, where I have students work in groups and they read through the book together. And you can notice here too, I've got 567 reads around the world. So that's cool. I do want to point out this bit right here. It says you can remix this book. All the books I put out there publicly, when I'm done with them, I set them to remix, which means if you like any of these books, you can come back to the slide deck, click on the link, open your Book Creator account, and then you can make a copy for yourself and then modify it for your own classroom needs. I believe in the economy of sharing. So yeah, anything I make, I mean, these things take me hours and hours to make. Go ahead and use it, because that's what it's all about, right? So here's an example, the story of Christmas. I'm Canadian. Christmas is a big deal in my country. And I have researched the origins, and I've got this, works cited at the end. Notice I've set this, I've got, all my titles are all pretty much the same. I've got these little boxes with did you know? And I get the students to read through the history of Christmas. Not all of my students are Christian. Not all of them celebrate, Christmas, of course. I'm in an international school, but it is a holiday that's well known and that kind of thing. And the thing is, I get the kids in this activity to work together, collaborating. And then I have some fun activities at the end. And in fact, the activities, notice I've embedded videos and things. You can put images and videos and third-party apps, maps, and things like that. It's a really cool tool. You can even link PDFs if you want for further learning. So what I want to show you is here is now like I've got an escape room with Google Forms, which is kind of fun. I've got a Flippity quiz. It's a quiz show. Let's open that up. You can click that and open up in a new window, but basically I put the kids in teams to give the answer. Yes, that's correct. And then I just add 100 to that. Oh, because we're not outside, I can't, normally you'll see 100 added to this. It will work when it's out of the thing, right? But my point is, this is a nice in-class activity where kids are working together. They're reading through, something historically based, because it's a history class, right? But then I have an activity at the end. I've got a bunch of options here. It's just kind of a fun way to wrap up the semester before we go on a long holiday. And that's a pretty low stakes one, right? I'm going to show you another one where I've actually only made this like about 2 weeks ago, and I've not shared it publicly yet. It's public to look at, but I've only shared it with the Book Creator Ambassador Group. And this is, I think I'm going to use as one of those, I think what I'm going to do is every couple of weeks, I'm going to have my students just kind of read one of these. These are all these stupid mistakes in history, things that you're kind of like, really, did you do that? Did that really happen, kind of thing? Note I've got the consistency here and this and that. I think this, will be appealing to kids. And notice too, at least at the high school level, there's not a lot of overwhelming text. I could, if I wanted, I could turn this into a jigsaw where, okay, everyone in the class is going to choose one person, because I got 15 of these, right? So if I had 5 or 10 more, then I've got the whole class covered. And then each student can give like just literally a 30-second synopsis of these crazy things that happened in history. And I think this would be engaging because it's really like showing that people 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, they just made the same human mistakes that we all make, regardless of your country, your culture, or the time, place, and space in which you live, right? So I'm going to use this in some way. I might put, an activity at the end just for, people around the world to look at. Now, this one, for example, I used a template. I usually make my books from scratch. But this one I thought, I don't have a lot of time. It took forever to do the research on it. So I think, I'm going to use the template. And that worked out nicely. You do have to be careful about how long your topics are. So there's two examples of some short activities that you could do just within the class using Book Creator, and really have a meaningful thing. It's not just playtime; they are getting something out of it. The way I intend to use this, like I said, is all right. Jigsaw, you've got your one thing, and you're going to have to summarize it, and you're going to have to get up and tell the class about it. And that's a worthy skill just to practice within a 30 or 40 minute period. So let me just get a drink of water. I got a bit of a summer cold going on here. Now let me show you the next two. I've got other examples here that these ones here other people made. Well, these three. I want to show you one that I've used for a unit on the French Revolution. Now this, I'm going to come back to this actually down the road and show you exactly how I use it in the class. But I want to point out that note here I've got activity written here, right? And note here I've got some embedded 360 images. Basically, I have this as an activity where students are using observational skills. So they're using the book, but I actually have them with another document that they're working on in groups for this one. And I've got historical quotes, and then I've got visuals that they can look at, and then let me just get ahead here. Now I get into the real heart of what they're learning in this particular unit, and that's analyzing political cartoons, right? And so note that now what I'm doing is introducing a class activity, right? Observational skills with the content. And then I'm adding how to analyze political cartoons and let's say illustrations as well. These pages here are deliberately white. I want them to be boring so the students are just focusing on the text and not distracted with anything else. And then I have some cartoons for them to analyze, kind of thing, right? Now this here where it says source analysis practice, boom, then they get into things that are connected to a worksheet, which I'll show you later. So this I want to show you, this is an example of how I'm using this within a whole, within a unit, kind of a mini unit in a unit. Now the Industrial Revolution, here's one. Again, same idea. And just as another pro tip, everything that's in here was already written because I have them on worksheets. Note here, there's an activity with a Google drawing, an anticipation guide. Here, they've got a map reading thing that goes into a worksheet as well. So they're using a worksheet along with the book, right? So, my use of Book Creator is not just read and, enjoy or summarize. There are actual skills we're working on. In this case, look, historical source analysis again, right? Where in this case, I do remind them what are primary and secondary sources. This is for grade 10, so a lot of it's a review. Doesn't have to be as detailed. It is different from grade 9 though, because I'm adding now values and limitations of sources, right? So basically I'm using the book as actually a digital textbook that goes along with their digital worksheets that I have in our school learning management system. So let me close that up and I'm going to keep going here. So now we're still into what. Actually, I meant to put in a why. I got a why slide in there, but let's go to this. Why? It's user-friendly. It's intuitive for both teachers and students. You've got templates. The accessibility features are fantastic. And when we get to the feedback part, I'm going to show you a few of them. You can use it on your phone, your iPad, your tablet, your computer, desktop, laptop, whatever. On the right side there, again, there's a lot you can do with it. Text, audio, video, images, maps, quizzes, embedding, all these different things. Kids can work together on one book. You can partner them up if you want. You can publicly post it and publish it, or privately. You can even download it into a PDF. I mean, this is the kind of thing you can share with mommy and daddy. Students make a book. You could actually get them to download it as a PDF, and then they upload the PDF to your learning management system. And that's what you grade, right? Or I just go into the books myself, right? And you can have multiple libraries. My dashboard, the one I'm showing you is my training dashboard, but at school, I've got class of 2023, 24, 25, 26, 27. Because when kids get me in grade 9 or grade 10, it's okay, you're the class of, because I know you're going to use this again in another year or two, if not another time in the year. So I separate it by classes, not by the name of the class, individuals and societies, grade 9. I put class of 2024. There's a pro tip for you. We do have a Book Creator account at my school. So anyway, maybe other teachers will be able to jump in and pull from that and that kind of thing. All right, finally, we're at the why here, okay? So why would you use Book Creator? I just gave you one example, right? But with kids, engagement, right? They like to be creative. They like to be on their devices. I think it transcends all subjects because you can use this in the elementary. Again, the iPad version is very intuitive, even for kids. Um, the grades, the subject areas, they really don't matter. And there's a lot of different creative ways to use Book Creator. The only limits your imagination. I can show you an example later of my grade 12 homeroom when we used it to make a book for our kindergarten kids. You can have class libraries, like I said. I think kids can be independent. They can collaborate. Again, the template gallery is great, and the inclusivity and accessibility features. Excuse me. I'm not going to read through this list. You can come back to it on your own. Again, this is just really some of the pedagogical thinking that I have, right? Flipping your classroom and, demonstrating your creativity as a teacher, sharing student learning and that kind of thing. Students, of course, it gives them agency, voice. I mean, they can, depending on your assignment, can create whatever they want under the sun. Remember, this doesn't have to be used for classes only, right? I've used Book Creator for school events and things like that, clubs. So the sky is the limit, right? I think kids too, when they know that this is going to be shared with the world, then, that gives added incentive, right? For some of them, at least. I have permission to show you student works. So some of the books you're going to see in the assessment bit, their works from my students, which I think are, pretty good. Never perfect, right? Seldom are they perfect, but that's okay, right? And the skills the kids learn. This one, I'll pull out a few here, right? The research, the analysis, right? They got to use their design thinking. How do I create something that's going to appeal to an audience in terms of the book design? Storytelling, there's just so many skills that they learn to use, right? And, maybe they're going to share it on their own social media account. I put these out on social media through my school INS account, right? There's a lot of different skills students can learn. All right, now let's jump back in here. I just want to double check on the time here. So Book Creator for teaching a unit. I kind of went over that, right? But let's start with the Industrial Revolution. So this is for kids in grade 10, just to give you the background. And I've used an anticipation guide. I've used a worksheet, several worksheets actually with this one. I'll just show you one. And then a sequence activity with Google Drawings, and then source analysis. So notice I'm using these third-party tools. I deliberately don't embed them in my books because I share them with my students, but you can make copies of these later if you want. So for example, with the Industrial Revolution, and let me just kind of go back and open that book. I'm going to open two right now here. Start with the Industrial Revolution, and let's open up the French Revolution. Excuse me. All right. And let's get back to the section we're on here. Okay, so note I've got an anticipation guide. So following along in the book, all right, we've got our background, right? So I might have students read it. I might just kind of explain it. And then boom, we get to this. And I've got this projected on the board, right? So I can say to students, I literally take my whiteboard marker and I write on the board because they can see this right here. And we do one together, right? Okay, what do you agree with or disagree with? Has industrialization been good for the planet? It's accessing background knowledge. It's not about the Industrial Revolution. It's about industrialization, right? And this is what it looks like. You might want to change the colors. I actually change the colors in my school account, as you can see. But there, I've got a screenshot of this on my book, and then the students just have to open it up, within the learning management system. We use something called Toddle, but it could be Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or whatever, right? Now, let me come back here and get into the next little bit. And here's another example of, I've already got everything made ahead of time. Let me just increase the size of this a little bit. So you'll note the text here, it's all the same text that's actually in the book, right? So this is the Industrial Revolution in Britain, right? So the text here, if you were to take your time and read through this, you're going to notice that it's actually the same text right here, right? With a few little, few things. Now note here, it says skill, reading maps. So, this is, for me, the teacher, the reminder that, I get the kids to go to the worksheet, the Google Doc. Note, I've got all my images cited. Please do that, folks. And so then after I've gone through this little bit of background stuff, boom, there we go. The same maps that are in the book right here and on this page right here. Then they go into the document, and then they're looking at the maps, and they write their responses here. And then we talk about it as a class, right? Like, what do we learn from these maps? They're not historical maps; they're academic maps made for the purpose of learning, right? And you'll notice with Book Creator 2, okay, well, what else do we learn about the Industrial Revolution from this? Because we're looking at causes, right? And essentially, these maps answer, provide the information for these, right? One could argue that maybe the kids are going to see that kind of thing, but it depends on how you structure your book, right? My students tend to just go straight to the document, and they're not even looking at the book after that. So, and of course, now in the document, here's another skill we're working on: skimming and scanning to find the main ideas. We've already learned about skimming and scanning before, but I also have my review of how to do it with the students, right? And so then they're going to go through the book. Let me just show you what the task is. All right, so they're looking for, let's see, in this activity, right? Summarize the main ideas of why the Industrial Revolution happened, right? So then they go through they have these as the background, and then they kind of go through, like, why did this happen, right? They're looking at the technology and all the other things, right? And then they fill this out, and then we work on it together, right? This is an extension activity, so I won't get into that, but if you have a little extra time, I always put extension activities in my docs and my worksheets. And so you can see here, then we move into working on skills. Now, the skill building, source analysis, those are in the worksheets are another document. In fact, maybe I got them right here. This one is a sequencing activity, though. Again, I'm using Google Drawings for this, but when we get to the point in the book, let me go here, right? Right, the Industrial Revolution spreads and the rise of corporations. Well, that's connected to this this document right here. So they're reading through, and we talk about why is sequencing important when we're talking about either history or processes and that kind of thing. History doesn't always have to be chronological, but the human mind, it works better that way. It can be thematic, of course. And then, of course, we talk about it, right? So again, you notice I'm taking my book and I'm turning it in, like I'm using it as a learning resource. So the one on child labor, here's another Google Doc, right? And when we get back to Book Creator and we get up to, boom, child labor, these are conditions in the mines and that kind of thing, in the mines. All right, now the part on child labor, right? So then they're looking at some different sources. So I've got these historical sources. A lot of them are really short. But again, we're focusing on the skill, which we've reviewed. And we have child labor in factories and in mines. And towards the end, I've got a couple of linked videos here in the doc that the kids can look at. And then, another extension activity I'm going to add to this is like, okay, let's look at an article on child labor today. I don't have that in my worksheet, but I actually do that with my students. It still exists, unfortunately. But a nice connection to say, why are we studying this? Because it still exists. All right, so let me close these because I want to give you another example. And I hope you're still with me here. And this one is the French Revolution. So this is what we're going to quickly look at. The causes of the French Revolution. Let me just pull these open. Political cartoon analysis and follow-up slides here. All right, let me pull this one over here. All right, so again, I've got my this first activity where students are looking at the Palace of Versailles. I've linked it to Google Arts and Culture where there's a cool 360 activity. Again, the way you set up your book, it's more interactive in this way. Kids click on the link and then it takes them out and they get to do a tour of the Queen's bedchamber and look at stuff. They're using their observational skills, right? And that's industrialization. We don't want to look at that. Let's see. And so anyway, there's another document that I have where students are working on that. I didn't put all of my worksheets. There's too many that go with some of these books. Let's see, but let's look here. All right, causes of the French Revolution, right? So we have some background that we kind of get into, and I get them to think about these quotes from Louis XVI, and then we look at royal decadence. And yes, actually, this is where they go to the images in the book. This one right here, royal decadence, right? And I've got my prompts that they're looking at. What would life be like for, life at Versailles? And then I've got commoners and what people said about Louis the 16th, and Marie Antoinette, which are in these next few slides right here. Even the quotes about Louis and the quotes about Marie Antoinette. And then there's another point we get into talking about the Enlightenment. But again, the focus that I want to give you here is that I've got my other third-party tools. I'm actually using Book Creator. I mean, this, you have to understand, this takes probably about 2, 3, 4 class periods, right? So the kids are actually using the book as a learning resource. And keep in mind too, what's really good about it is that I'm the one that creates it. Now, yes, you could copy and paste the text from somewhere if you want. I'm that person. I like to do the research and take notes and then put it in. Seldom do I copy and paste anything, but when I do, I always put in brackets where where I got it from, right? So moving along in the book, you notice this image right here, right? Which is Geoffroy, her Enlightenment salon. It's right there, so the kids can work on the, can have a look at the book, and then they can come back to the document and kind of keep working. All right, let me just jump ahead in the book here a little bit. All right, Enlightenment thinking. Okay, now we're getting to the skill, the major skill part, the skill that's being taught, right? Those are skills that I just showed you. Those are skills that were for the most part being reviewed because they do them in grades 6, 7, and 8. But obviously every year and periodically in any academic year, we need to practice that stuff, right? But this is where I introduce how to analyze political cartoons and illustrations on a deeper level than they've already done in grades 6, 7, and 8. And again, I've got white background here simply because I want them to be focused on the content, the skills, right? Not the actual pictures and images. Now note here though, I've got a video on my YouTube channel, Social Studies Samurai. Check it out if you want. Shameless plug right there. But in this, I've got a French Revolution card illustration, Cruikshank, that the students look at in the video. And I don't show this video in class. I have them look at it beforehand. And it just reinforces what they look at in the book. And then we can move on with actually applying the skill by taking the different sources and then doing source analysis. And let's see. And note here, again, I've got my little, cute little green things in there, these did you know boxes. But then I've got the different illustrations from the period that the students have to analyze. And I've put these, this is actually a table so that I've, just kind of set up my Google Docs a little bit differently from the average person, perhaps. I've got the reminders from them here. Note I've got, use at least 3 of the techniques that students, that I want students to focus on as they're going through the different images in the book, right? I've made some updates to this that are not quite complete yet. Let's see, we looked at that one before. So in the book, this is the thing that we're focusing on, right? Source analysis and that. So the book's got all that support material that they need. It's linked to our learning management system. And then it's also like reflective of the document that we have. I find it really works for my students. I've been using Book Creator pretty frequently for about 4 or 5 years now. I've used it for a number of years, but regularly for this simple reason, right? I can just do a lot with it. It's a great tool. Let's see. And this is just another thing that I have, that we do this with the students before they actually do the other source analyses. And in fact, now that I think about it, I think this is one that I use after. This is the Third Estates. I use this actually. Sorry, I haven't taught this in a couple of years. I don't do grade 9 anymore. This is when we get into talking about the 3 estates. I've got completely unrelated images. And then we go to this and we practice the source analysis together. 1, 2, 3. And I've got a second version here if I get bored and want to do another one. And then the kids can take a different characteristic or different sources and then work on the analysis, right? And that one right there is similar. So I've got to change that up. All right. So essentially that's how I'm using it in the class. Now I want to show you, all right, first, let me just open this up again. So what's special about Book Creator for assessment, right? These are 6 things that really stand out for me. I think when students create content like this with a tool like this, they come up with something creative, right? It's very tangible, right? and they can demonstrate their skills and their knowledge all in the same place, right? I love the multimedia options. What I love seeing is that the students, you'll notice that what they've done is uploaded an image, but the part that they're talking about, like the caption of an illustration, right, for source analysis, they actually zoom in on the image in Book Creator to what they want to talk about. And they put in, some of them put in arrows and shapes and things like that, which is great, because they're actually maximizing the potential of the tool. Again, there's do now activities. And I've got feedback during assessments here. This should just really be assessments. My apologies. Journals, exit tickets, audio or video reflections. We'll show you how to do that. That's one of the how-to things I'll show you in a moment. Student-teacher feedback loop is great. When students are working on something over, say, 2 or 3 weeks, you can go in and, if, for example, I have one period where they're actually working on it, the book itself, I can go in before or during that period and then give my feedback to them. And again, they can embed other things. Even if they have a question for me, they could actually put a shape on the side or create a little video. Mr. Gildart, I'm not really sure about this aspect of the cartoon. Can you give me some feedback? They can actually do that. They don't have to send me an email. They can put it right there in the book, which I think is a cool idea. All right, so let's look at some samples. I think I'll just show you one sample with each of these. All right, so this is the French Revolution historical analysis. So this is the one the student chose. I give, you have to do source analysis, but I'm going to get, I give the students like 20 illustrations to choose from. And they had to research the author, or the illustrator, I should say, and they had to research the background context and this and that. So note here how the student, they've actually put in a shape with the dotted lines to make it stand out a little bit more. And to the text, they've actually linked it. And in this case, this part has, it's referenced twice, right? Very, very cool. I think this was really done exceptionally well. In fact, I might show you another one just because I do think it's exceptionally well done. And of course, the works cited, right? Maybe the font here should have been the same as one of the other ones. But anyway, we're not going to worry about that. Let's look at another one. All right. And I have permission to show these, by the way. Again, notice the students use shapes to highlight certain things. Now, this is an example of a student that actually zoomed in on specific things. This is a great example of this student maximizing the actual, what you can do with a tool. They didn't screenshot and zoom in. They actually just put the image there and zoomed in on it within the app, which is totally cool. Yeah, here's another example of that. And I like the conclusion where they bring it to the present day. And again, their bibliography, right? Their works cited. So now let's look at an economics example. So this is very different. That other one was doing a political cartoon illustration analysis, right? This one, that was in grade 9. This one's in grade 10, where the kids were learning about economics, and they had to look at economic systems, right? Capitalism versus communism versus free market economies, that kind of thing. And it's not really a super engaging topic for the students. I don't spend a lot of time talking about it. I want them to learn about it on their own because they can. They're capable at the grade 10 level of learning these things, but they do need support. And so they create a 2-page spread for a textbook. And so here's the cover. This student actually chose to do a magazine or a portrait style textbook. And of course, they've got the images in. Note, I mean, this, for as far as you can, if you wanted to, you could really make this look like a textbook, right? If this was going to be spot on like a textbook, then they probably would have had little do you know boxes and things like that. We didn't have a lot of time, so I wasn't going to pressure them for that. But there's their 2-page spread right there. And they only had about 2 weeks to work on this, by the way. So the size, it commensurates with the actual activity or the assessment, if you will. Another one, economic systems here. And so this one, it's more than a 2-page spread, right? But, they decided to put each thing on 1 page. This one doesn't stand out as much. It's got, I put it in here deliberately because it's not perfect. I mean, they could have used bolded text. They may have used, graphs and things like that. But, in general, in terms of design, it's not too bad. So the question is, how would I, okay, getting started with Book Creator now. So the question is, how would I give feedback? Yeah, we're going back to the feedback bit, right? So let me just jump out of this. I am going to, let's open up one of these. Let's go to that second sample. Okay. And okay, I can't do this one because it's in my school account. But what I'll do, I'm going to go into Book Creator, my own my own account here. When you go into Book Creator, it's going to automatically take you to your books in your library. And this is my training account, by the way. If this was my school account, you would see my books, everybody gets that. And then class of 23, 24, 25, 26, that kind of thing. And those classes are shared only with the students in those classes. And the thing too, let me point out, if I was to create this as class of 2025, when the students are in grade 9, I share it with all the students with their school emails. And 2 or 3 years later, when we're using it again, I don't have to share it with them. I only have to put in the new students that came to the school from the time we started, and it's only shared with them. And the students actually can only view their own books. I have it set like that, unless they're collaborating, which I don't honestly do as much with this kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to pull up my books here. And so these are, books that I've made. Again, I put a lot of time into these things, so that's why there's not loads and loads of them here. Let me open this one, though. I don't think this is a student copy. Yeah, okay. So this is one that I made, but let me give you an example of how you might give feedback as students are working on this. And I'm going to delete all the stuff in a moment, but okay, so let's say I think they need bolded text in here, right? I'm looking at myself here and I'm thinking, oh, I should have bolded text in there. It's not perfect. So I will say the inspector right up here, that's where you can make certain changes. So if I tap on that, I can unlock it. I can lock these too, by the way, so that they can't be moved if I'm building something and I mess it up. That's where you're going to change all your stuff, right? But no, I don't want to change any of that stuff. What I am going to do, though, is lock that back again. So what I'm going to do is click the plus button right here. So let me show you a few ways where you can actually add some feedback to students. I like using shapes because they stand out. But now remember, this is the editing mode, right? So if you set it up so that you can edit with your students, in fact, maybe let's not use that one. Let's use an arrow. I'm going to go with this one and I'm going to go like that. And let's say right here, right? And in fact, you know what? I think I'm going to use a shape for that. I don't really need to put an arrow in like that. But if I was to do that, it kind of shows exactly, what I'm talking about. So if I double click, right, you need more, for example, you need more of an overview of the topic in this first sentence. Not sentence, not sentence. All right. If I want to bold that, make it a little bit smaller maybe, because I'm probably going to be giving other feedback, right? So I'm going to put that in there. And you know what? I'm not going to lock it, because then the student later on can just tap on it and delete it when they've made the fix or the edit. So maybe I'll go to another page here, right? Let's give some positive feedback, right? Let me give... let me show you, let's see how to record something. Let's click on record, and I'm going to record sound. Notice here it says sound. I'm going to start recording. I really like this idea. Did you know? What you could do is actually record audio and then put an audio clip next to it with just a little bit more detail. So I can listen to it. I don't have my screen share to share the tab right now, but you can listen to it and then use the recording, and note it pops up over there. But I'm going to put this just right here where it's out of the way. Note that these audio things, you can't drag them off the page, but the students will know that, okay, I'll listen to that and I'll just delete it. And what I'm recommending to this student is actually in this did you know part, make your own audio file and then, add a little more context. Or if it's not even for context, maybe it's for accessibility, right? I mean, these books, by the way, if I wanted to, I could set it so that anybody reading them can actually have it read for you, and they can choose, the voice. Is it like supposedly a British male or American male voice, or female voice, whatever. So that's one way I can give feedback, right? Let's see. We out here. All right, we're on part 2 all right, so let's see. Maybe I want to give feedback on the image, right? I'm going to go plus, and let's see. I'm not going to go with record. I'm going to go with camera here. And if I use the camera, I can take a picture or I can record a video, right? So I'm going to click record video. So watch, this is another way. And I think it's even more personal than the audio thing. hey, this is a great spread. I love the 2 pages. I love how the image blends over into the right side page. Um, the topic is sustainability, and I understand why you put the industrial, the factory, right, or the refining factory image. But why not put like an image of something else that demonstrates sustainability, things that we can do to for sustainability, like a biomass site or windmills or something. Just something to think about. So record for about 30 minutes. I'm going to click use video. And again, I'm not going to lock it because the students are going to go in and they're going to delete that themselves. Because it's a 30-second video, it's taking slightly longer to load. This is an in the cloud app, right? So it might take a little bit of time. I have noticed though, if it does take time, I'm going to go out here and let me just come back. Look, yeah. So if you see that spinning wheel of death, I like to call it, you can just do that. So I'm putting that right there. So you see here how you can use shapes, you can use your video camera, or you can record your voice to give feedback. If you wanted, I could use the pen here. I'm going to choose this one. Let me, no, it's not my paint bucket. Let me go with the brush and let me choose my colors. I don't like using red. I use a green marker on all my feedback with my students. All right, and I'm going to go right there, and I'm going to put done. And I might tell the students, if you see me circle something or highlight something, that means you have a spelling mistake. Let me just go back to my pen here. Let's use the highlighter. In fact, there's the highlighter. Let me just go here. Done. Oh, that should have popped up. But anyway, you get the idea. You can highlight as well. Let me just, since we're doing this, might as well do it properly, right? And I don't want that. This is my highlighter tool, and it should. Okay, I'm a little bit of a problem with my. There we go. All right, highlighter. All right, so that's there too. So again, you can use different ways to give feedback to students. Now, these ones here where they're on the document, I find them intrusive, which is why I prefer, now again, with the audio, you can't do that. But I do like putting these little shapes with an arrow where you're specifically showing where students need to improve. So again, when you're giving feedback and then assessing, I mean, obviously you're going to assess based on your, your criteria and all that kind of thing, right? So anyway, those are, just some ways I'm using Book Creator. Does it take time? Yes. But 4 years ago when I made this French Revolution thing, it took me probably about a good 5 or 6 hours over about a week or two as I was preparing it. But now I've used it for 4 years for about 2 or 3 weeks. So it's done. I've saved myself so much time because I put the time in the first year. Tough if you don't know if you're teaching something again. But the good thing is when I got to that Industrial Revolution one for grade 10 and started building it last year, I just took all the text from my worksheets, popped them in, the images I already had, so I popped them in, and I already had a plan for how I was going to use it. And it took me far less time than when I did the French Revolution one. It's worth the investment of time, everyone. So getting started with Book Creator. First, make your account. Choose your layout. I think maybe think about your teacher brand and that kind of thing if you want certain images. Again, you can use text, emojis. You can embed images, video, audio, YouTube stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff you can embed. I'm not even going to go through the list. Here's a tutorial video on how to use it, but there have been some significant updates since I made that video about 3 or 4 years ago. So have a look. So you can create a free account. Make sure when you get to this page, you click on switch to teacher. It's going to look like that in blue. And then whatever your account is. And again, it's going to take you to your My Books, but you're going to have to click on the hamburger and then you'll get to your projects. And in the Discover, there's different apps you can use. The Discover tab. Oh, in fact, you know what? Let me just show you. Let me go back here. Right. Let me just go back to Book Creator right here. Whoops. That's not where I wanted to go. I want to go here. Here, I'm going to go back here. So you've got the Discover tab where you can look for templates, and note here it's got like all different topics. It's got different grade levels and things like that. Search by elementary, middle school, high school. There's loads and loads of stuff in there that you can use. And they all have, there's all these videos and things that can teach you how to do stuff. And now let's get to the certification, right? You can become a book creator, author if you want. Obviously, I'm complete. Doesn't take you too much time. It'll take you a few hours, but It'll take longer if you don't know how to use Book Creator, but that's the whole point. This guides you to learning how to use Book Creator. Let me go back to my slide thing here. In fact, no, I lied to you. I'm not going back to that. I want to show you this one. So, there is the community, right? You can do, they keep updating at Book Creator, these different certifications and that kind of thing. So you can be a collaborator, you can be a champion. The ambassador program only opens up in the summertime. It's not like some of the programs that you might see with bigger companies where, you've got like 2,000 or 3,000 Google certified education trainers, right? Or innovators, which is actually quite exclusive, but now there's thousands, right? They're only adding a certain number to the cohort every year, right? So, and they only allow it, they only have the program for ambassador every summer. So summer's almost done, right? Deadline's over, but become a collaborator, become a champion, and then an ambassador, and go and do that first certification, a Book Creator certified author, right? And if you come to this slide deck, you are going to find all the links you need for that stuff. So I think about now, Sudipta is going to share that with you. Now, if you want to find me, I'm on YouTube with Social Studies Samurai. My other one, Japanese History Trip, is a bit different. You can find me on Twitter at Nathan Gildart or Social Studies Samurai. You'll find lots of my resources. socialstudiessamurai.com, the website, which I'm revamping right now. If you're an educator, this last one over here, edtechtrainer.com. There's access to all these slide decks. So if you want, you can access those and use them in your own professional training. And anyway, those are the links. If you want, just pause the video later and then you can find me there. Or Sudipta, she's going to put the slide deck, just come down to this last one and now you know where to find me. All right, so that was teaching, assessment, and teaching and learning, assessment and feedback with Book Creator. I love this tool, folks. That's exactly why I'm here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it back to Sudipta.
Thank you, Nate. That was absolutely fabulous. I mean, especially looking at the kind of work the children have done. I mean, absolutely fascinating. And thank you so much for taking us through. It just makes the entire experience so user friendly. I mean, you make it so simple. I'm sure anybody watching this would be able to pick it up and go through the way it's basically done and incorporate the audio and the video, and absolutely fabulous stuff.
I'm telling you, everybody out there, like, Book Creator is very intuitive. It will not take you a long time to figure out how it works, even if you're just playing. I
Yes.
recommend, I got my students to do this. I never teach them how to do this stuff. I tell them, I want you to do this, 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 and this, because you're using this for an assessment. So today is our 20 minutes to play. Here are the things that you have to do with you and your partner. Go do it. And they figure it out together, right? And adults, I mean, we're much savvier with technology than kids are, even though some people don't think that. We are. So play with it. Go out and have a play. And then, when you're getting your students to use this, don't just say, okay, you're going to make a book on Book Creator. Give them 20 minutes in a class period and say, here's a list of tasks to do. Do it with your partner. And then you walk around as a teacher seeing that they're doing it. And the ones that are stuck, then you help them out. But honestly, people, this is super intuitive. I love this. I wish I had time to write more books, but little by little, I got one done this summer that's pretty detailed. I got one more in the works. Can't wait.
Fabulous. So thank you, Nate. And it's always a pleasure to invite you onto this platform, because there's just so much of learning that takes place. And it's amazing the amount of, things that we can learn from you with just this one very small session. So thank you so much once again. And we'll bid farewell to the audience here and hope to see you soon. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Thanks very much. And thank you, Sudipta.
Thank you. Bye-bye.